I see the issue of abortion as not being a net plus for the governor. Governor Edwards, in addition to the pro-life position that he clearly articulated in 2015, given that messaging, he pretty much had to sign the bill. The thing that's complex about abortion is this. If you start at the most elemental level, which is pro-choice versus pro-life, Louisianians are overwhelmingly pro-life. Where the challenge begins with abortion is when you start talking about the various exceptions, to where once you start bringing in the exceptions, you have a much smaller number of voters who are purely pro-life and an even smaller number of voters who are purely pro-choice. So it's a very complex issue, and I would argue that a lot of what's going on with the abortion issue is theoretical. Once you start getting to the practical, which is, let's say that some of those restrictions were to take effect and people were to be impacted, voters tend to rebel. And I'll give you an example going back 30 years in time, the Webster case in Missouri. What happened 30 years ago with the Webster case was that basically the Supreme Court upheld some Missouri restrictions on abortion that had been passed several years before that. And even though it came out in the late summer of 1989, what had happened was that it became the backdrop against which the gubernatorial elections in Virginia and New Jersey were conducted. Republicans lost both states because they gave the appearance of being too rigid on abortion. The true answer when you're talking about where people stand on abortion, once you get into the complexities which are there, is that the vast majority of people are somewhere in between, which is, I would say that they are personally pro-life, but they do favor one or more exceptions, which is getting into the issue of rape, incest, save the life of the mother, at what point the pregnancy is terminated, etc. So it's a very complex issue to navigate, and the thing is, the reason I'm saying that it is a net negative for the governor is this. I don't really see, given that people are really in between on the abortion issue, I don't see that it would be an issue where Governor Edwards would pick up any votes per se, but the liberal Democratic base he needs as his foundation for him to hope to get reelected, right now they're unhappy. Even though I don't think that they would vote for a Republican, let's pretend that there were a liberal Democratic candidate who all of a sudden were to jump in the race before qualifying and pull 5 to 10% of the vote out. That could certainly be an issue for the governor. So like I said, it's a complex issue, and it's the kind of thing that there was really no good answer, but especially since most likely it would have been a veto-proof majority. But the fact that a bill is being signed that has no exceptions, that's not in line with what voters want, and there's historical precedent for voters reacting against that kind of legislation.